Honesty? That's what's coming up on The Art of Bombing, episode 146.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Now podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of The Art of Bombing. I'm Dan Boblitt Jr. It is Friday, July 3rd. We made it to the weekend, and it is Independence Weekend. That means it is a holiday weekend. I don't know how you celebrate Independence Day, but no matter how you celebrate, I hope you have a good time, and I hope it's safe. If you're shooting fireworks or you're watching fireworks, going out with family, friends, staying in without them, I don't know how you celebrate. I'm not judging, but have a good time. And be safe. That's all I care about. Today on the show, my guest is Zach Boblitt. We had a great conversation. I do need to warn you, this conversation took place at the very beginning of the pandemic, so it was early April, and my technology, that was when I had my old computer and my old microphones and things like that. So there are going to be some delays and some sound quality issues, but so keep that in mind that it was recorded a couple months ago before I had fancier technology. So that's cool. Real quick, before after today, I will be on vacation. So that means next week there will be no Art of Bombing podcast episodes. So July 6th through the 10th, no episodes. But then the following weekend, July 14th, we'll be back and back to the 2 episodes per week. So be ready for that. I've been having some great conversations, and I still have some in the bank from earlier when the pandemic started. So we've got lots of great content coming. If you're into podcasts and if you like history and podcast, I really want to recommend a new podcast. Or rather, it's an old podcast that has just been relaunched and reformatted, and it's more of a history podcast now. It is the Sioux Empire podcast. My buddy Robert Mealing is the host of that, and he's a fantastic storyteller and did lots of great research for the podcast, history-wise. The first episode has released. You can go check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. It is available. That is the Sioux Empire podcast. Make sure you check it out. If you enjoy it, leave him a 5-star review. And while you're leaving him a 5-star review and saying some nice words about his podcast, then you can jump over on the Art of Bombing page and leave us a 5-star review and say some nice little words and subscribe, and then do me one more solid and tell a friend about the podcast. Help get the word out there. I would greatly appreciate that if you did. All right, that's enough. I'm going to keep this short so we can get into the weekend. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Have you partook, I guess, I don't know the appropriate word, in any virtual show?
I did one virtual show because I was supposed to be on a show that Friday before everything went down, on the Thursday, I think, beforehand. And I was supposed to be the host of the show. So we just I thought it was going to be like a regular old mic, but the only change I made is I only did a couple minutes instead of like doing like 5 or 10. And then I did it from my bed and made it kind of look like I was sick. So that was weird.
I'll bet. Yeah, the digital or virtual comedy is a little different. I've been doing a storytelling show, so that way it doesn't have to necessarily be funny, because you can still, tell a story or whatever, without having that immediate reaction from the audience. This has been going all right. I've did a couple like little mics and stuff on Instagram and stuff, but it's definitely different. You definitely have to adapt.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a friend, Al, and he does a lot of videos. Al Nimpson, he does a lot of videos, like little quick sketch type things. And I just got a computer so I can actually start editing videos and filming and stuff and see how that goes. Because I think that's a better medium than just doing like a straight up stand-up thing.
Yeah, making videos and stuff. That's definitely a good way to still practice being funny without, doing the traditional stand-up. It's a nice comedy adjacent activity as well.
Yeah, plus I always wanted to get some, write out some sketches and things, and it's given me a motivation to do so. And, we'll see how that goes, but.
Yeah, I hear that. I've been more productive since this quarantine, I think, than I have in the last few years. It's kind of sad that this is what it took to get me to be productive.
I hear you. I've written a couple new 5-minute chunks, and I'm like, well, now I just have to sit on this material and not do anything with it. So whatever, I guess. It sucks.
Yeah, I've got pages of legal pads of jokes that I've been reworking some stuff too, all kinds of stuff that I'm gonna be just ready to go try when this is all over.
Yeah, just the thing that sucks is the not knowing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, but at least it gives you something to look forward to. When we get to go back and do comedy, we have fresh material, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of comics that are out there kind of wasting their time. They're still trying to do the virtual shows, which is good. That you want to try to stay sharp and everything, but I think you could, spend some time writing and come back with all kinds of new materials. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the people who try to write material in the first place are going to continue to write more new material, and the folks that don't are going to continue to not write new material. I have 2 mics a month where I just do all new material, and then I go from there and edit it and hone it at other different mics. But I try to at least do 2 mics out of I try to hit 8 mics a month. So 2 of them I'll just do new material, and then the rest of them I can hone older material.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good process. It's good to have all that fresh material. That's for sure. What did you think about doing the virtual show that you did? Even though you kind of made it a little different. How'd you feel it?
That was at the very beginning of all this, so I was just like, sure, why not? It was kind of before everyone started doing it, because it was the day after everyone had to stay at home. It was a Yuck Off Comedy. They did a virtual open mic, and it's YUK-OFF if anyone wants to look it up. It has 2,600 views, so last time I checked, which was a week or 2 ago, so it's done pretty well. But yeah, it's something I probably won't do again, but it was fun to do it that one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it is a good opportunity, though, to reach a new audience. There's people that are probably watching a lot of this stand-up, these virtual shows, that would probably go to an actual live show. So it gives you a chance to put your name out there. But it's definitely not traditional stand-up. It's hard to do that without. But
yeah, I miss the traditional stand-up because for some reason I was really good at the first joke. I would make fun of whoever went on before me. And sometimes it doesn't go well, but in general, I do a pretty good job of just whoever went on before me, I make a joke, and it's not about them specifically. It's just about something they said. And then it kind of shows the crowd that you're paying attention. So then I just go from there, which you can't really do with a virtual mic. I guess you could, but it'd kind of be a little clunky, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I would agree with that. Excuse me. Well, we're gonna get into the humming. We talked a little bit about this virtual comedy and the changes, but we're gonna rewind to when we could still do stand up.
Back in the olden days.
I'm gonna go ahead and let you tell a story. Yeah, back in the olden days. Go ahead and let you tell your story about your worst bomb.
Well, I have 3 stories that just stick in the back of my head. Because I started doing stand-up when I was 19 and then did it for like a year or two, but I wasn't really fully into it. Then I went and lived a life for a few years, and then I got back into it like 2 years ago and have been going like full force for the last couple years. But when I was 19, I got a lot of like, not super success, but like for local area, like getting booked on shows a few times, which was way too much success than I should have gotten back then. And I got booked to open for a comic at Donnie B's Comedy Club in Springfield. And I did the same 5 minutes I did at that open mic that got me booked. And I remember I couldn't drink. So they're like, hey, what drinks do you want? I'm like, well, I guess I have to have water. So I got like a couple Dasani waters. And they introduced me. The host at Donnie's, and he doesn't know how to go online, or not the host, the owner of Donnie's, he doesn't know how to go online, so he won't be able to see any of this anyway. But everyone kind of knows he digs you a hole when you go up there. So you're kind of already going against what just happened. He kind of introduces you like, this next guy, don't give him too much of a hard time. He's just trying it out. He's trying to figure things out up here and get better, which is like the worst thing you can say. It's like, oh, this guy sucks, basically. You're not building him up at all. So then I go up there and I do the same 5 minutes. The actual show crowd is obviously older. I don't know this. I'm 19. I don't know this at the time. They're older. They're people that actually have money versus an open mic crowd, which is people that don't have money because it's free. So I go up there and I'm doing like jokes that I hate thinking about now, which is like jokes about like a strip club or something stupid. And I tell these jokes and it is silent. Like you can hear glass tinking on the table and you can hear like whispers in the crowd. And this is like, I think it seated like a couple hundred people, but it was probably like half full. It's like 100 people, which is a lot when you're first starting out. And then like I'm looking for the light to where they told me the light was going to be, and it is not appearing at all whatsoever. So I'm just going through my full 5 minutes. I get done, get off the stage, what felt like 20 to 30 minutes. And then the son of the owner comes up to me and tells me, he's like, went a little long there. I don't know what happened. I'm like, well, I looked at the place where you told me there was going to be a light and there wasn't a light. So I just kind of sat in it. I was just like, oh, sorry. I didn't say anything to him. I was just like, sorry, because I bombed anyway. I'm not going to complain. I'm like, oh, you didn't light me. So then I get off the stage and like drink my water. I drink my water with my sticker on my hand because I'm 19.
Wishing it was good. Was an alcoholic beverage to erase what just happened.
Come on, I know the state of Illinois doesn't allow.
Yeah, I feel like that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I couldn't imagine comedy without alcohol. I know. I mean, a lot of people do it, but with that, like, I feel like in that situation, like, I always, when a host does that, dig you a hole, it's kind of like, oh, just stop talking. Like, I like them like a host that basically just, like, it doesn't matter. Even if they make up credits for the person, you know what I mean? Like, they'll be like, no, this next performer tours all over the country and he does blah blah blah, make you sound way better than you really are, and then you go up there, because it really does give you that confidence boost, because now you're like feeling like, oh man, I gotta go kind of prove myself, I gotta be good now, they really built me up.
Yeah, it gives you that confidence boost. You're like, okay, yeah, I can do this for sure. And then you go up there and even if you do okay, it's like, well, you're the opener, so you don't have to kill. You just have to do pretty well and set it up for the headliner to do well.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's the nice thing about being an opener too, is like if you do bad, as long as that headliner does good and ultimately it ends up being a good show, they're either going to think, oh, you were on the show, that's great, you did great, or they're just going to forget about you altogether. And either way, it's a good scenario.
Yeah, and I have like a postscript kind of thing with this story as well. Is after the show, after everyone leaves and everything, they're like, because I was supposed to do 2 nights of featuring. Opening. They call it featuring, but they don't give you enough time to actually feature at Donnie B's. It's like 5 to 10 minutes. It's like 10 minutes on average. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it's not great. But back then, we actually got paid decent for that amount of time. I think we got paid like $75 or $50 a show. So 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, and you're only doing 10 minutes. You get like, a couple $100. They also offered you a hotel, but I live like half an hour away.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, this was like 10 years ago, 9 years ago. But then the guy comes up to me, the club owner's son, and he tells me, he's like, well, we're not going to be able to have you work on Saturday. You can work the late night show, and we can still give you a hotel if you want, but you're not going to be able to work the next night show. And so then my heart sinks. Like, this is my first paid show, and I screw it up so bad that I can't work the second portion of my shows. And the headliner also came up and told me, he's like, yeah, could you work, like, you do some different jokes or something? So then he's, I understand what he's doing. I didn't do well, and he wants to try to have a better show the second show. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll try. I just transitioned from doing like one-liners into like more story-based stuff. So then I went back to my old one-liners, and the second show actually went well. But instead of being for over 100 people, it was for like 20 people. So I killed for 20 people and, didn't help the club make money.
Did they, after the Late Show, did they say anything about your set that time? Like, were they like, oh, wow, you really improved from the 2 shows?
No, they didn't. They didn't care about me at that point. They were calling other comics in the area, because I got told that, like, well, I wonder, Zach must not have done well if they're trying to get someone for Saturday. And also, which I feel like real like guilty about this, is then eventually they just started, I feel like right after I did that poorly, they started just having comics do one night at the club, 2 shows one night, instead of doing the full weekend for the feature opener set. So then I'm hurting other comics in the area doing that, and that just made me super depressed. Like, I can screw up myself, but I feel bad about screwing it up for everyone else.
Yeah, that always sucks when you end up being the reason something happens. It's kind of like, it's funny because sometimes even if like it's things out of your control, like if you're like the last performance at a venue before it shuts down, it's still like haunt you. Even though you might not have had anything to do with it. Oh,
you're the ghost of comedy past.
Man. Yep. Just there haunting.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
go ahead.
The bumming of... if you got more to add to that, I was going to go start some of the questions that I do. So.
Okay, I had like a couple other... I don't know if that was... You just wanted one story, but I have a couple other stories that I was gonna go... Because I have...
you can go ahead and tell another one.
I have bombed quite a bit. So I had another time. This is after I got back into, like, I was actually getting a decent amount of like feature and opening work. And this was like little over a year ago. I did a show in Bloomington. And it seems like you bomb really badly whenever you get that level of confidence where you're like, yeah, I'm going to do great, whatever. Like, even if that's in the back of your head, that's the moment where you're like, oh, this is going to go poorly. I went up there and did that show, and Bloomington, Illinois is a college town. Illinois State University is there. Unfortunately, the show was booked during the weekend where people were graduating. Remember when people could graduate in person? So yeah, we had it set up that weekend, and there was like 8 people there. And this is at no fault of the guy who was setting up the show. It was just kind of unfortunate that it worked out that way. So we had like 8 audience members and then like 5 or 6 comics all doing like, 15 to 20. And I did my 15 to 20, and the lights just felt so hot. And I'm a bigger guy anyway, so I'm sweating. And like I feel sweat going into my eyes, and I'm having to wipe my eyes. It looks like I'm crying, and my eyes are burning. And I'm just like, I'm going to get through this time. I'm going to power through this material. And just like there's like maybe a couple of chuckles throughout throughout my set, and it's just not good. I'm also more deadpan-y, so I don't have that level where I like go up energy wise to try to get the crowd involved. At least I didn't back then, especially. And it was pretty terrible. And then at the end, because there's a couple comics towards the end that did well, like the more experienced guys. And at the end, we get paid, and it's like real professional. They give us checks, but they're handing everyone the checks, and they're like, right before they do that, they're the guy who runs it, Jaime Guzman, is like, oh well, guys. Unfortunately, there just wasn't an audience to pay you guys. And we're all like, yeah, I get it. I understand. And then he still hands us the check. He's like, no, I'm just screwing with you. We got money stowed away for this. I'm like, oh, yay. At least I get paid for this bomb.
Oh, that's so mean.
It's funny, but it's very mean.
Play a nasty trick like that. It's hilarious. Yeah, no, I think that's hilarious, but yeah, it's very mean. But that's a smart producer having money stashed away for that aren't busy as other nights.
Yeah, Jaime's a great guy.
Yeah, when it comes to comedy, and I know this as a producer, when you say if you're going to pay somebody X amount of dollars and you don't make it at the door or whatever, it doesn't matter. You still have to pay those people whatever you promised, or you're going to get run out of this business real quick.
Yeah, I'm guessing because then you become untrustworthy, and comics are like, comics whisper to each other, so it's going to be a thing where, well, he doesn't actually pay you if you don't get a crowd there. So then comics don't want to go on your show. You're not going to get, comics on there, and it's going to kind of ruin the show that you set up.
Yep, absolutely. Now the bumming of bombing, that feeling, the dreadful feeling, how long does that typically last for you?
It depends on the show and the circumstance. There are some times where it festers for like, especially if it's like a Saturday and I don't have anything until the next week's open mic, then it just sucks because then you have to sit in that for like 3 or 4 days. I mean, I could go out of the area and go to a mic, but I may have to work or something. It's really, the refresh button is whenever you get another set in. You always get that refresh button with another set. And once that happens, then you're like, oh, okay. Even if you don't do great, if you just do mediocre, you're like, okay, that bomb went away now because I don't have to think about that for now, at least.
Yeah, you definitely feel like, well, at least I'm improving. I'm getting back to being a little bit better than that one.
Yeah, it's painful after a bomb, and especially if you go like back to the place that you bombed at. The next time you go there, you have that bad energy. You're like, oh crud, let's see if this goes better this time. Let's see if I can somehow tame this unruly mob that's gonna throw me out of here.
That's funny. I had a show, I had a weekend scheduled to feature at a venue where I bombed every show. Like, I felt like I bombed every show last time I was there. and that was coming up in May, and now it's all been canceled. So I'm not saying I caused this, but I definitely was feeling uneasy about going back.
I think that's the title of the episode. Dan Boblitt caused COVID-19.
Because he didn't want to go,
Yes.
go face that demon. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, it was like a whole weekend too, and it was like 6 shows because it's at a casino resort, and they do shows Thursday, Sunday. There's a show Sunday and Thursday, and then 2 Saturday and 2 Friday. A lot of shows, and I felt like every show I just ate crap, and so I was kind of like, I was excited to go because I like going out to California because that's where it is, and I have a lot of friends out there. But then I was also like, oh man, I had to go back into this venue where I ate crap and hope and try to do better.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt has a story about bombing at a casino show too, and it's like he had the group of people who just knew him from King of Queens, and plus they were drunk and casino going, so they just really were kind of in there because they lost money, and this was a free show. So then they're already annoyed at you, and it went terrible. It's if you look that up, oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, he's very accurate. A lot of the times people that go to them comedy shows, they're only there because they ran out of money gambling. And a lot of times the tickets are free. That's why they go. They're like, and so then when they're to the show, they're still mad and fuming because they lost their money.
I feel like whenever
it's hard to work with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like whenever whenever I've gone into a situation where I expect it to be terrible, it somehow twists its way back around and is good. Where I'm like, oh, I think the negative thought of this is going to be awful, and then it just always comes back around. There was one time where I got like a Facebook message from a friend of mine who runs a comedy group down here, Belly Laughs. It was Tim Laffey. He sent it to like 3 comics in the area. He's like, hey, this woman wants her husband to be roasted, and he's a cop in Decatur, Illinois, which Decatur is kind of the crappier town in central Illinois, one of the crappier towns. And he wants you guys to roast him. There'll be kids there, and he wants you to roast him for like 10 to 15 minutes. But then I saw the pay, and it was like $130 for like 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I'll find something to do. And I'm just going into it. It's at a Knights of Columbus Hall, and I'm thinking how terrible this is going to be. And I write my jokes literally in my car beforehand. She gave me a little bit of dirt on him. I don't remember any of the jokes I told that night or that day, because it was also during the daytime, which is a great time for comedy. And we ate before. I was the opening act for the cake, which is not a thing I thought I would ever say getting into comedy. So I do my like 10 or so minutes, and I wrap it up. I get done. They hand me an envelope, the wife does, with like an extra $50 in it. I'm like, oh, that's great. They start praying because it's a Knights of Columbus Hall. I didn't know anything about that before. And then they start praying like before they hand out the birthday cake, and I like sneak out of there. Like, I am not going to gonna chit chat with folks after this. I think I'm good.
Yeah, sometimes that's the situation where chit chatting probably would have been good if you did well enough that they gave you a bonus. I'm always like, when I do bad, that's when I want to sneak out the back.
Yeah, I can't remember who the comic was. If it was, I feel like it was either Norm. This is like a wide range. It was either Norm Macdonald or Bill Hicks has a story about that. They had a story about that where it was like they did really poorly one night and then went out there almost in spite to handshake with people. As they were there, like a good portion of the crowd already walked out. So they did that. And then the next show, they did really well and just hung out in the green room and played cards with their friends. It's like, that seems backwards, but that's what I did that night, because I'm just like, it was a weird energy with the prayers going on, and they had a different type of happy birthday that involved prayer as well. And I'm just like, this is a little too religious-y. Also, during the show, above me was like a Jesus on a cross, like in like bronze or gold or something. Like, and I mentioned that, and like, this is awkward. And it got nothing. So I'm just like, moving on. I am not going to touch that again.
How do you analyze your sets after you bomb? Or just in general, really?
After bombs, I'm super tough on myself. I think most comics that are decent are. Like, even after a decent set, I'm like, well, they still didn't laugh at this line, and this line. I need to remove that or edit it or add a couple punches to this and this and this. When it comes to a bad set, like, I micromanage it to the nth degree, probably too much, to where I'm like, I shouldn't even do that joke again. But I'm like, well, that joke did well before. So then I just like, I still go over it and edit it, and then like kind of feel it out and see where it goes. I also try to do that bit again and like maybe move it to a different spot in my set, unless it's like I have a firm opener and a firm closer, but anything in the middle, I move around all the time.
Okay. What's your writing process like?
I used to be, and I still am, pretty structured. Like, a lot of people talk about, well, I write on stage. I'm like, that seems horrifying. I write most of my set out and then like go over it like 2 or 3 times, just sitting in my bed. I try to get the most comfortable position and then just go over it, and like usually I can get like 2 or 3 more punches if I just read over what I'm doing that night in that set list. And then I go over it. I write, like, I try to write 5-minute chunks. That's kind of my process. I think for me, for my voice, like, anything more than 5 minutes, and I personally would get annoyed with me if I was sitting in the crowd. And anything less than 5 minutes, I feel like, I want to hear more about this. So it's like, I feel like 5 minutes for me specifically is a perfect chunk of time, because it's not too long where it could tank a set, but it's not too short where people aren't wanting more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of a good way to look at it, because people do really have short attention spans nowadays. Everybody wants that everything instant, thanks to the internet. Do you have any short-term or long-term goals?
Short term, by the end of this year, I want to have like a little over an hour of material. Right now, it's going to be tough now with everything that's going on, but I have like 35 to 40 solid minutes now. And I want to get like over an hour of material by the end of the year. So maybe 20 to 30 minutes. And I'm trying to write as much as possible. And obviously I'll have to check it out on stage, but that's my goal by the end of the year, short-term wise, is to get an hour of material. And then long-term, my goal is I just want to be, like, people have like very outlandish goals of like going to Hollywood, or I just want to be a road dog. I see a lot of comics that come through Mason City and come through, in Mason City, Illinois, Mason City Limits Comedy Club, Donnie B's down here in Springfield, Illinois, and some guys that go up to the Jukebox in Peoria, and a lot of those guys are road dogs. And to me, that's the dream, is being able to each weekend go tell jokes and get paid for it, and then go back home and then work on new material and keep that process going. Because that's what I care about. That's the most fun thing, is figuring out the puzzle and being like, oh, that worked when I switched this word this slight little bit, but it didn't work when I did it this way. That's my favorite part of comedy, is the writing process.
Yeah, that's a good goal. I feel like We're very similar in that because for as far as just wanting to kind of work the road, I was just had a conversation with another comic this morning, and we talked a little bit about that. And I think you can make a living doing comedy, as a road person. You can if you live in the Midwest, you can definitely it's not like a crazy goal to achieve. That's for sure.
No, it's not like a goal. Like some people have more, like, oh, I want to be on the Daily Show or SNL or something. And I'm like, good luck. You have to move out there basically if you want to do that. But my goal, just keeping it simple. I just want to headline some, as many weekends as I can and make, I'm not going to make a great living, but I want to make a decent living doing something I love. And I think that's a goal that anyone should have really in life.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree 100% with that. Do you have a favorite venue that you like to perform at or a favorite venue you performed at?
Oh, I've got a few. My biggest show I did was at it was a fundraiser, and Richard Bailey, a comic down here, and Trevor Hayworth I'm the straight male comic of the three of us. Richard's a black dude, and Trevor Hayworth is a giant gay man. He's 6'7". And we go to this little podunk town, Litchfield, Illinois, and we drive down there. Richard had this show set up. It was a fundraiser for his friend who had cancer. So we're not making any money, but we're also like, it's pretty cool. We're trying to help this guy get money for paying for his bills and everything. We go down there and we're like, I wonder how this is going to go. And we get into the parking lot and we notice there's no parking spots around here. And that's a great feeling when you go into a parking lot and there's no parking spots. We walk into the building and it is packed to the brim with people. And we go into the actual like showroom area and it seats like 300 people. And that is the most people I've performed to. And it's still like, it was like cutting a knife, like a butter knife through or cutting like my hand through melted butter. It was so easy. It's like I could have just poked it and it would have went through. Any joke I did it's what you work those open mics for, is getting a room like that, getting, that easy of a room. And then when it comes to like common, like, not just one-time shows. There's a CU Comedy over in Champaign. They run great shows. Their open mics are even amazing. Their open mics are the best open mics I've ever been to, and they run them on Wednesday and Thursday nights at a Clark Bar in Champaign. And they keep it tight. It's an hour. Everyone does their 5 minutes. If they go a minute or two over, then they're cut off. They cut the mic, and then they go on. They also do, like, the host is basically in the back of the room. He introduces the comic, so it's just tag team style, bam, 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 bam. And then their actual shows on the weekend, they keep getting more and more shows. Well, not now, but before this, they kept getting more and more shows. And those guys, Jesse and Justin Tuttle, the Tuttle twins, are really good at running shows. You should definitely check them out.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I did stuff down a couple years ago.
You cut out a few times there.
Spots. I did a show with Larry, and then I was just saying I did a couple shows down in Illinois a couple years ago.
Yeah, I saw your name.
Last question that I do. Go ahead. Sorry, there was a big delay, and I didn't think you were talking, so I was going into the next thing.
Oh, sorry.
This damn delay, man.
Yeah, I saw your name based on Larry Smith, who's a mutual friend of ours. He's from the Springfield area. That's how I got into your podcast, man. I really enjoy listening to. It's like a sadistic thing. You just love listening to other people's misfortunes, and obviously comics can make it funny afterwards. So it's fun to listen to your podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad. That's awesome that you listen to it. Yeah, Larry's good people. I worked with him, and then I worked with somebody else. I forget what other town we were in. We did a couple shows in Illinois a couple years ago. The last thing that for the standard questions is what's your proudest achievement so far?
Oh, proudest achievement. I don't, in comedy, I don't really have a super great achievement that I guess the 300 people was pretty awesome to perform in front of that many people and to do well and to have people coming up to you afterwards. But in life, I think my proudest achievement is, this is so cheesy, is finding my girlfriend Diane, because she has made my life so much simpler now that I'm with her. That's such a cheesy answer, though.
Hey, it works though. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. And even though she won't listen to this, she won't get to hear that nice compliment. Now she has to have a reason to listen to this. And now I'm doing a new thing on here called Pick a Number, and you're going to pick a number between 1 through 20, and then I'm going to ask you a fun question based on whatever number you pick. So, number between 1 and 20.
Let's go with the lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7. All right. This is a fun question. What song would you have played at your funeral, and why?
Oh, that's tough. Do you have an answer to this so I can stall and like?
Oh, do I have an answer to this? Oh man, I'd have to think about it. I don't know. I would probably, for me, I would want something kind of upbeat and party like, because I want people to celebrate, not cry. Maybe play somebody's comedy album.
Yeah, for myself, like, I guess, like, the only song that's coming on in my head right now is Ramble On by Led Zeppelin. I guess it's just like everyone else. It's just a weird thought, but it's like everyone else just go live your life, ramble on. I'm in the ground now.
Yeah, that's a good pick. That's a really good pick. A good reason too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Where can people find you on the social media and the web?
Yeah, the Zach Boblitt on Facebook, Zach Boblitt on Twitter, and I'm also on Instagram. If you pull up Zach Boblitt, I'll be on there too. I think it's like Zach Boblitt 7 on Instagram or something, but I don't go on Instagram very often. I only read stuff on Twitter. I'm really on Facebook. So if people want to friend me on Facebook and be like, hey, you were mediocre on that podcast that Dan usually has great guests on, go ahead and friend me on there too.
All right, that's great. Before I end this though, it's crazy how close your name is to mine. Like the aesthetics of it, because mine's UBLITT and yours is BOBLITT. So like every time I look, like if you just like see the name, wait, oh no, that's not my name.
Oh, I'm trying to point at it. There you go. Yeah, it's did you get the nickname in high school? My nickname in high school was Boob Tit. Did you ever have nicknames like that involved boobs or anything like that?
Yep. Let's see. There was Boblitt, Bub Tits, Boob Tits, Boblitt. If you can think of a name, a way to say my name with making it a way to call me a name, I heard it. Yeah, lots of boobs, lots of lips, bubble tits, all kinds of stuff. Lips,
Did you
name it? I heard it.
Did you get the nickname or did people do the Lorena Bobbitt thing too? Because that's not infuriating at all. It's like, oh, you have the same last name as the guy that got his dick cut off. Ho, 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 ho. Because I got that.
No, my name's far enough away from that.
It's like, oh, Boblitt, if they remove the L like they remove the penis, ha 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 ha.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, people. Just being so silly.
It's good to know that people are smart no matter where they're at.
Oh, man. That's right? Because the world's full of a lot of people that aren't so smart. You don't believe me, just go on any platform of social media and you'll quickly find that out. All right, Zach, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dan.
The Art of Bombing is a Blitz Entertainment production. Hosted and produced by Dan Boblitt Jr., The Art of Bombing intro music was written and performed by John Holt. All other music used in this podcast was under the Creative Commons license. If you would like to help The Art of Bombing, you can do so by subscribing, rating, and reviewing our show on whatever podcast application you use to listen to The Art of Bombing. For previous episodes, blogs, and more, visit artofbombingpod.com. Have a great week. And remember, stay safe so you can live to love.